Here's some of the mat work we do on the offensive line. This is actually an Andy Ryland special. It is a rugby contact prep drill, so it is not specific to offensive line play, but it is a great warm-up. It gets your toes and ankles some mobility in them. You feel it in your hips and core and shoulders. Good way to get the heart rate going, introduce some competition to start the day off. We switch shoulders each time, but it's not specific in that, one, we wouldn't want to be in a bear crawl position, but more importantly, there's no defender here. In order for something to be true skill acquisition, in my humble opinion, you have to have a defender. So the task and responsibility of both of these guys that are essentially offensive guys is to move the other person against their will, as we like to say in offensive line play, and get our entire body to the other side of that line. And that's how you win. So it complements the demands of the game from an agility standpoint, from the pressure standpoint, from the manipulation of pressure. And here's just an extension of that drill or game where we're in this frontal plane. You cannot square up. We both are offensive guys with the same task. We're trying to move the other person and get our entire body on the other side of the line, just exploring ways to do so. It might look or even feel like the pressures of an ace or deuce block, but don't overthink that. It's just complementing those pressures. It's complementing the weight room, getting us in that frontal plane and getting some strength and some conditioning out of it. So here we go into something that's a little closer, a little more specific to offensive line play from a posture standpoint. But again, these are two guys with the same role, same responsibility, same task. We get in this over-under position that you often see in Greco wrestling or any heavyweight wrestling discipline. You're going to be in this over-under position. If they know how to pummel, they can. But our task or responsibility is to move the other person, get our body to the other side of the line. And the reason I like these is you don't have to coach these up. You just allow the athlete to explore. You get a lot of reps in, and they're trying to find ways to manipulate the opponent's pressure and move them. So here we add a little more specificity to it, but still two offensive guys. We bring the hands in. We're in a neutral position to start. One hand inside, one hand out. The bell rings. You can move your hands into a more favorable or advantageous position. But again, it's the same thing. Don't overcoach it. Let the athlete find ways to create movement. So this will be the most specific to offensive line play. So we start with our back on the wall. That is the offensive player has his back to the wall and the defender has his back to the camera. The task of the offensive guy is to maintain space with his hands. So it's a hand fighting drill or game. And then the task of the defender is to break those grips, break those hands, take away the space, and get a bear hug. So yeah, we get a lot of questions about the wall. We take a lot of the posture out and we take a lot of the footwork out. But the reason we do so is that we could get a lot of good work with hand fighting. And that's a big part of the game. I think feet are the most important, but we got to focus on these hands. So here I'm just kind of talking about how I use my elbows and wrists to manipulate his pressure as an offensive guy. And here you'll see what a win looks like on the defensive side, kind of use some wrestling moves, and we're just allowing people to explore. He's exploring. And once my hands touch there in that body lock position, the defender gets the win. So again, each have a task. One is to maintain space with their hands, and the other is to break that space and get into a bear hug. We do a little longer on this because we're on the wall. We have 10 to 15 second rounds, and it allows a lot of just hand fighting work. And, eventually we take this to something that more mimics the game where we have to maintain our posture and use our footwork.